Ian Moraes, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Jeff Kanige. I'm the editor of NJBIZ. Thank you all for coming today. We're going to be talking about how a company can help a community thrive. Before we do, I just wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about Audible itself, in case some of our audience aren't familiar with the company. Tell us a little bit about Audible and your role there.
For sure. Thank you for joining. First of all, Audible is a leading provider of premium audio storytelling that provides a rich destination for our customers to provide insight and inspiration to enhance their daily lives. So, for example, right now I'm listening to Paging Dr. Gupta, which is a novel, a story from Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who's the chief medical correspondent at CNN. And it's somewhat insightful that he talked about doing brain surgery on a military ship where the ship moves and you have to deal with brain surgery where you're dealing with millimeters to deal with. And so it's insightful. And it also adds an additional dimension to hear it in his voice. And so we're headquartered in Newark.
Right.
And we have offices in 10 markets. We actually serve customers in 175 different countries and in 46 different languages. And so for those of you who may not be aware, a fun fact is that Audible debuted the first portable digital audio player in 1997. So now your portable digital audio player is your phone, but at that time, that was innovation for Audible.
Okay, very impressive. And we're going to hear a lot more about what Audible does as we go along. The question before us is how your company can help enable a thriving society. And I thought we'd start by hearing a little bit about what Audible does in that regard. What sort of philosophy or attitude animates company leadership, yourself included, when you think about Audible's role in society and how it's going to play that role and what you can do to help?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jeff. You know, Audible seeks to exemplify what a company can mean beyond what it does. So it transcends financial success. You know, over 15 years ago, Audible relocated its headquarters to Newark, New Jersey, to be part of the heart and soul to enable the revitalization of a historic city. And you know, it's about being a member of the community and addressing those structural barriers that are related to equity and economic empowerment and racial justice. And that has been imbued in our culture. It's part of our people principles. And as you know, culture binds an organization together. And I think if you look back I'll point to, there are certainly many examples, and I'll choose 3 for you. The first one is in March 2020, we had the pandemic. Students were removed from their schools. They were closed. Libraries were closed. And parents reached out to us and said, can we help? How do we get access to books? And so Audible launched Audible Stories in 10 days. It was some late nights and a weekend. And we launched a free, unlimited service with family-friendly titles developed by for underrepresented groups, but diverse perspectives. And it was extremely successful. And the team that pulled together to get this done basically did it not because of financial success, because we wanted to make an impact in the community. Another example I'd point to is Newark Working Kitchens, NWK. It was Audible's nationally recognized response to the pandemic, where it was a public-private nonprofit partnership with the leadership of Mayor Ras Baraka. And NWK Delivers is the next iteration of it, where it shifts from disaster relief to a long-term sustainable plan for enabling small businesses in Newark. So the way it works is, if you come into the office at Audible, you get a subsidized lunch, and you can order from an app. You choose the company or one of 10 to 12 restaurants, and there are different restaurants each day, and you have it delivered. This provides employment for cooks and for delivery people. Right. But what's gratifying is that for each lunch that's ordered through the app, Audible delivers one to someone in need in the local community. You know, the last example I'll provide is Newark Venture Partners, which was a micro VC founded by our founder, Don Katz, who's the founder and executive chairman at Audible. And it enables an opportunity and an ecosystem for high-tech growth companies. And it's about creating the next Audible. It's about creating jobs. It's about enabling opportunities for local residents. And that's another example. And we have a global center for urban development, which attempts to scale this across other cities too, Jeff.
Right. And that's what you're hearing is why Audible is one of the most highly regarded corporate citizens, not only in Newark, but throughout the state of New Jersey.
Sure.
I'm curious then what executives and business owners here can take away from what Audible is doing. If someone is sitting there now thinking, yes, I'd like to be that kind of company. I'd like to be the Audible of where I am.
Yeah.
What are the most important things they need to think about and start to do right away? How do you get started on down that road?
I think there are a number of ways you can do that. For one, there's a talent gap right now. And what we've done with our customer care center is our customer care center in Newark comprises local Newark residents who've been reskilled. These are people who want a job, want to learn. And that customer care center has a 95% satisfaction rate. So it's good for business. It's good for the community. And what we've also found is those members of our customer care team, some of them have moved into the tech team, so to be able to help with our solution validation and other areas. Another example is Audible is about diversity in terms of listening. For us, it's about helping our listeners learn about different perspectives and opinions and reality and experiences. And to do that, we need that diverse talent. And so enabling inclusivity is part of who we are and how we work. So it's good for our business. The other example I'll point with is that there has been a change. You know, we're in the midst of a tech talent war. I talked to a number of companies, small startups, medium-sized, who are looking for tech talent. And there's been a change in the shape of the conversation regarding corporate philanthropy and being able to serve our local communities. And so those are questions that we get. I was at a recruiting event last week and in the city, and I got a number of questions about what have you done? What have you done lately to engage with the community? And it was so easy because it wasn't planned this way. My team and I were volunteering at Franciscan Charities, which is a local Newark food kitchen, cutting cucumbers and tomatoes and preparing meals. And so it was a wonderful example of being able to engage with the community, but also to be able to respond in a very candid and succinct manner to these candidates. And the other point is you always remember that when you have candidates and teammates who want to help others, that's a good culture to build and a good skill and an inclination of candidates because they will help your business too. So that's another experience I would say would be of why it's good for businesses and how local startups and businesses, it's not an or, it's an and, Jeff.
Right, so what I hear you saying is, number one, you realize that it's good for business. You mentioned recruiting and trying to, I'm sure everyone is facing that difficulty in hiring. I'm curious though if I'm sure there is some concern. We're on the verge of a recession perhaps.
Yeah.
There's inflation, supply chain problems. In the face of all of that, what should how should a business owner or corporate executives think about this kind of stuff now?
So I think there are a couple of responses I would provide. One would be that we need to ensure inclusivity is not necessarily something on the side. It should be part of how we work, right? It should be just how we work. It shouldn't be something special. It should be viewed as something essential. And we've been bestowed gifts and talents, and we should be using them to help others. They were there to help others. And so from a tech talents perspective, we need to enable inclusivity. I think that's a challenge that we're all facing. But this is something from a tech talent perspective. There are two things that are being done, two facets. One would be that the skills to be able to participate in the tech ecosystem have changed and have evolved. When I was in grad school doing my master's degree in machine learning, it took me some months to test and deploy and tune machine learning models. Now you can do it in a matter of a few hours using a web-based interface. So I would say the technology has also enabled more of a democratization of participate in the tech ecosystem. I think another aspect to be aware of is that there are apprenticeships programs. I'm proud to be a graduate of a liberal arts institution, right, which enables that different thought and thinking, but still I got my degree in computer science. But now you have apprenticeship programs, which Audible has executed and delivered very successfully, including returnships. And so there are opportunities to be able to staff your talent from those who have not traditionally had a computer science degree, but who have been reskilled and retooled through a variety of means. And so I would say look to those as opportunities to meet your tech needs.
Okay, now it sounds like Audible, when you're hiring, you're bringing these people in who are predisposed to this kind of work and this kind of environment. Was there a time at Audible where you didn't have that, where you had to sort of persuade people to do this kind of stuff? And if so, what sort of arguments work? Again, because if someone is watching this, they may think, okay, that sounds fine, eventually we'll get there, but what do we do in the meantime? How do you get buy-in from the staff to do these kinds of things? Because it's a lot of work. I mean, you mentioned nights, weekends, working, things like that. To do the job and then to volunteer at a soup kitchen or something like that, or do the other kinds of things that you're talking about. How do you get that kind of buy-in?
Listen, I think I've noticed a number of startups or tech companies who will be involved and engaged in things like escape rooms for team activities. Another opportunity to build teamwork and getting to know other team members and working outside the corporate environment is when you're serving at a food kitchen, for example. It was a great opportunity for our team to get to know other teammates, to be able to exercise their interpersonal skills and build team camaraderie. So that's one concrete example to do that. I think when you're also, we have a Tech Cares initiative, which was, when the pandemic came, our tech team still had their hearts and souls in Newark and wanted to help and make an impact in the local Newark community. And so we came up with Tech Cares, which is an opportunity to be able to volunteer and be able to help nonprofits in Newark. And we help create websites, provide free tech consulting. There were a couple of ways, there were intangible benefits for doing that. Obviously, one of the benefits from the nonprofits was, thank you for helping us onboard to either Salesforce or create a new website. But it also provided the tangential benefits of our team learning to acquire new tech skills and build those interpersonal and communication skills, which you wouldn't necessarily do if you were focused on coding only, right? So I think it's not an or, it's an and. You can do both and still build those skills. And then returnships and apprenticeships. I was talking to a returnship candidate yesterday who had taken a break for taking care of a parent and was now returning back to the workplace and brought an incredible wealth of expertise of what she had done. And she said, now everything's new. Slack is new. I've never heard of Slack before, right? And wikis, etc. So, but she brought a lot of great experience and questions and that she had brought to the table. And so it's a win-win. It's a rich environment. It provides an opportunity to mentor, but it also, that returnship engineer was able to provide mentorship to a new engineer who had just graduated from college to understand how to work with others and how to deliver production development code. So it's an and, not an or.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm being given the signal that our time is up, but just very briefly, what's the most important thing folks should take away from what Audible does as they think about this going forward?
I would start with each of you. Each of you have been bestowed gifts and privileges that you should be using to help others. You shouldn't keep them for yourself. And I would say work with your organizations, work with nonprofits to be able to, and work with your public and private and nonprofit partnerships to make a difference and to make an impact. And I thank you very much for listening to us.
And thank you, Ian Moraes of Audible. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming.